Hello, my name is George Simonoff, and I'm going to post some videos here and just talk a little bit about some of my philosophies around maintenance and reliability. I have 20 years experience in an industrial environment, most of it around maintenance reliability. I've been everywhere from the design to the test floor field service engineer to reliability engineer, automation engineer, and then the bulk of my career in maintenance and engineering, plant floor engineering, maintenance processes, capital delivery processes, and things like that. I speak at International Maintenance Conference. I'll be speaking at the one here in December coming up this year, and also frequently at the Reliability Conference held in Las Vegas in April, Reliability 2.0. What I want to do here a little bit is talk about the pyramid itself and what this pyramid means to me. Basically, and some of you may recognize this, Sammy had published a pyramid similar to this a while back, and it's one that I think is a good foundation for any roadmap to improve maintenance and execution, and then also ultimately reliability, which is really the science of maintenance. I just want to talk a little bit about these, what you see here, stages or the phases, are started from the bottom up on the pyramid, and a little bit about the bottom line there where you see it says organization. The organization is really around, and I've learned this lesson a few times, and pretty recently I was reminded of it again, about how important having the right organization structure on your team is to successfully moving the needle in any one of these categories, just improving things altogether. And it really boils down to a very fundamental concept around proactive versus reactive. And the proactive is really when you look at the folks that you have on the floor and how they're structured, if they are a shift mechanic and they're responding to shift calls or DIN calls, as you may call them, it's really around a reactive role. Those are the firefighters. Some people try to give those teams proactive activities to go do, and a lot of times it's very difficult because they get swallowed in by the reactive. I've seen that happen where even folks have been dedicated to a proactive role but would be required to respond to reactive or split their time during the day, and the reactive always trumps the proactive. It's like a disease, it spreads. So in my opinion, the most success I've had has really been around taking either a crew of folks or certain people, or even starting with one, and put them in a role where all they work on is 100% proactive activities. It could be a lube tech, it could be somebody doing uptime inspections with a couple tools. It could be a role like that, or it could be a daylight crew of folks, which is something that we've recently changed in my current role now with the companies that I work with. We've created a crew of folks that focus on uptime inspections, down day corrective work, paying attention to precision maintenance, PM optimization, lubrication activities, all those things that really reduce your overall costs, reduce your overall amount of work, drive a lower amount of work and a higher quality of work, and really improve the machine condition to keep it where it needs to be. So the structure is critical, in my opinion. And you really got to put some consideration in that as you go to tackle what you see there on the screen around phase one. Okay, so daily maintenance, it's really just around gaining control of the work. It's really around the fundamentals and the blocking, attacking around maintenance execution. You can see there, starting at the bottom, the work initiation, prioritization, planning and scheduling, craft skills enhancement, work execution and review, and materials management. Now, all those pieces put together is what we currently call a reliability work process, but it's really the work process on how you get things done on your team. How you identify the work, do they come in on work requests? Do you get them on follow-up work orders or follow-up requests from PMs or inspections? Are they improvements? What's the priority of that work? You have a right priority system that kind of matches your business and makes it clear as to what you should be working on. And then, that coming into identifying the work, then planning and scheduling the work, and then how you go and execute that work, excuse me, and how you coordinate materials, kitting, any of those things, right? And even your reactive side, your firefighting, fits into this process somewhere. because there's some element of these pieces going on. In a lot of places I've worked, what I've done is sit down with the teams that are involved in this process, the maintenance team, the procurement teams, even some production folks on the team, and map the process as is, so we can see like the different types of work, how they come in. It takes a long time and it's an awful lot on the board, but once you get it up there, you can really understand the process, how you use Oracle to be part of that process, or whatever CMS you may be using. We're using Oracle right now, and really just around utilizing the tools that you have available to systematically organize, plan, schedule, and kit, and then capture the data where you can start building job plans and other things. You need a process to feed the right data into that manages the execution and that gives you the right kind of feedback, right? So you really need to focus on that. The materials management block is a unique one. There's a lot of pieces to that, and it's almost a shame that it takes up one block, but it absolutely belongs in the first set of fundamentals that should be in place. And that's around an organized storeroom. Are your materials organized? Are they systematically found in your CMMS? Are you charging parts to work orders to understand what you're using on what assets? The nomenclature, the naming convention, is it standard in a way that makes sure that you are able to specify the right components? You're able to identify them easily. I'm sure everybody's been in some situation one time in the past where you go to look for a part, you don't have it, you rush something in, and then you find you had it all along, right? Worst case is it's sitting in a cubby hole in some kind of non-systematically managed method, like you're manually managing your inventory, and it's not easily found, or it was named something that made it hard to find, right? Those things all apply. But then even more sophisticated around to your kitting process and how you're notifying your procurement teams of what you need for as far as parts and materials, things like that, right? Having good min-maxes set up, reducing cubby holes, really organizing the processes that support good storeroom materials management functions. And then even on the other side of it, when you look at what your planners are doing, when you talk about planning and scheduling, bills of materials, having clear documentation that shows the material components broken down in an easy to find way. Most of the time in a CMMS, some CMSs can be very challenging, even if it's on a spreadsheet, but reducing the amount of time it takes to identify the necessary materials for the job. That really starts to enable planning at a different level. So materials management is a huge piece there. When you look at the rest of that first phase, preventative maintenance, that's really like, do you have PMs in place? Do you have inspections? And then even beyond that a little bit, which is still a fundamental, if your inspections are all downtime based, are you able to break some of those activities and fill some of your uptime time identifying things that you need to do while you're down, or you have a weekend opportunity, so you have the time to plan and schedule? It's not found during an inspection while you're down where you don't give yourselves any time to plan or require materials, which inflates your storeroom inventories because you have to have it there because you're finding it now. Any activities like that, and even the uptime inspection activities, what also falls into there very simply, using some tools that allow you to use a strobe light to see into moving components, a stroboscope, or a thermal imaging camera, anything that helps you detect anomalies in the equipment at a higher level while it's running, right? Sometimes it requires modifying guards, and there's even some other lean type visuals that you can put in place that might help you measure chain slack, or even tying some operator base inspection into those preventive maintenance activities, right? Because it's really all around trying to maintain a machine condition. If the equipment's breaking down on you and you're responding to everything through breakdown calls or DIN calls, it's really hard to plan and take control. So the preventive maintenance activities, frequent oil changes, all those things play a big part in that. And then also you can imagine, Oracle or SAP or Maxima, whatever CMS you're using, really using that system as a tool to help you plan, schedule, organize the incoming work requests, manage your work orders, having an asset model created that you know what you're charging your parts to, so you can look at usage of components, or even understand what assets are costing you a lot of money, or the trouble assets, or what type of work you're doing by asset, or are you developing follow-ups from your PMs, those type of things. On the CMS, that's also a large part in that fundamental. Now, in this first phase, I would say that spending a year in this first phase is probably not enough time to hammer down the basics, especially if you're talking about org structure changes that support the right proactive environment. And you don't necessarily have to do all of these, and as you look up the pyramid, and this discussion is really just around that first phase. You can pull certain portions in. You don't have to follow it in order, but as you climb up higher, it is dependent on some of these building blocks that are down below it. So some things down below need to be in place. Even if you focus the first year and a half or so on that stage one, you're really getting a lot of bang for your buck, because you're really enabling your capabilities to go do some of these other things, and you reduce a tremendous amount of breakdown just by getting more proactive, preventative activities in place and managing the work, so you got some control over your destiny of what type of work you're doing and what you're spending on your budget. I'm going to try to post some more of these videos as we go on. This one I'm going to call just talking about stage one of a reliability roadmap. Again, my name is George Simonoff, and my email address is gsimonoff65@gmail. That's GSIMONOFF 65@gmail. You can search for me on Google and even see some of the presentations that I've given in the past. Thank you.